The biggest weakness for the Texans in 2024, Paul, is definitely the secondary. Correct? There's no debate
that
it's the biggest issue with this team.
The cornerback position, specifically cornerback number 2.
I would agree.
I think there's still questions about safety, but in Kalen Bullock, it does seem like there's a lot of upside there. You're rolling back with a lot of the guys that you had last year at the position. But nickel corner, there's competition. Lassiter is going to compete with Desmond King. It really is what happens across from Derek Stingley, because between Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson, you have two guys who have been around the league a lot. And I think to, go to Nick Casario's post-draft press conference, he admits in as many words without actually saying it, we do not have our second cornerback situation solved.
Yeah, I think that their plan right now, my guess is that they're hoping that the answer is on the roster at this very moment, but they know that there's a very good chance that it's not, and they're gonna have to find someone when cuts happen. Hope that a Steven Nelson is still out there later in the offseason that they can add during training camp. But yeah, the secondary just in general, because it was the one part of this team that they didn't improve enough, seems to be the biggest hurdle besides injuries that would stop this team from going deep in the playoffs. There's really nothing on offense. Like, I'm not going to pinpoint just the left guard spot. Be like, yeah, that's why they're not. That's stupid. Like, they have a good enough offensive line that they can cover for one spot.
They have competition there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how the interior offensive line, center to left, is going to solve itself, but Kenyon Green's going to have a full offseason for the first time. Jude Scruggs is in his second year and played pretty well at the end of the year despite having his own issues of getting on the field at first early on. Jared Patterson played as a rookie. Like, you have, at the very least, guys that you look at and you say, okay, maybe someone can make it happen.
Yeah.
You're not looking at any spot on the offense to what you said and saying, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird that, like, the offense, when you look at it on paper, looks...
I mean, some of the depth are
perfect.
guys that you have seen do well before, talking about Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
Or at the college level in a John Mechie or in a Kenyon Green. Hell, even Robert Woods, who not too long ago was probably a top 20 wide receiver. Mm-hmm. You have you have a lot of competition on the offense. So you feel great about it. It's the defense and the jump that it takes from last year to this year, where they're going to be playing way better quarterbacks, is really, I think, where this entire season is going to be determined.
No, they said the teams had a franchise record in sacks last year, so obviously, like, they were getting after it. Will Anderson ended up with 7 on the year. Jonathan Grenard obviously had a very good year before they got paid, but they brought in Danielle Hunter, who is a better football player than Jonathan Grenard is. He's also been healthier than Jonathan Grenard has been for the most part. Jonathan Grenard is 4 seasons, and it's been kind of was an up and down guy about how often he was in. So I think that the way they invest in the defensive line, for me, Paul, is that they're saying that whatever deficiencies we have in the secondary, they're concerned about the deep ball that we've talked about, that they were constantly giving up, that they're saying that with our offense, because we're going to score points, and with our defensive line and our ability to get to the quarterback, that this team strategically is going to be in a position where, like, the defensive linemen are going to be able to pin their ears back, go get the quarterback, not have to worry about the run game, and that is the pressure on the quarterbacks is what's going to solve maybe some of their secondary issues.
Yeah, I think you can make that argument. I think, though, that they got to remember that last year they had the most sacks they ever had in a year. So they added, you have Danielle Hunter, you have Danico Autry. That's 28 sacks that you imported, and you lose Jonathan Grenard's, 12 and a half. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you've replaced the sacks that you lost. Will Anderson's going to be in his second year. Derek Barnett's here a full year. Mario Edwards and Barnett in depth, I think, are pretty good options. You definitely have the guys on the edge, but it's on the interior, which Autry will play a great deal of. Do you have that same kind of push? But yeah, on paper they are better than the team that had all those sacks that last year.
I think it's just at this point, it's my guess is that it's their hope is that they are, even if the sack numbers don't reach the point, is that the stress that they're going to put on these opposing quarterbacks is what's going to solve some of their secondary issues. Because maybe I'm just trying to justify what they've done this offseason in my mind, because it really feels like they've ignored a giant section of their defense and just said, we'll figure it out. And I just don't agree with it. I just don't agree with what they've done at safety. The fact that they just are going to leave those guys there.
What would you have done differently? Was do the signing of a Quandre
Diggs?
Quandre
Diggs. Simmons
or something.
Yeah,
like that.
And look, maybe Kalen Bullock can make an impact, but he wouldn't have made the impact that a Quandre Diggs would have made.
Probably not. No, you're right.
He might have flashes that'll be fun, but he's not going to be like a game record changer in his rookie year, I'd imagine.
You would think not, right?
Yeah.
They really like him. D'Amico Ryans per Caserio loves him. And when you heard them both talk about him after the draft was done on Saturday, you got a little bit more of that. That was Friday, what Caserio said about D'Amico. But, they are definitely betting on that this year, is that the pass rush is going to make life easier for the second corner and for the safeties. And, yeah, that might be the case. Sure. But, look, you're in a conference where the quarterbacks can all scoot. Patrick Mahomes is as good as it gets when it comes to avoiding sacks. Josh Allen is as good as it gets when it comes to shaking off sacks. Lamar Jackson is as good as it gets when it comes to running around sacks. Those are the three teams that you're looking at and thinking to yourself, okay, this quarterback gives us nightmare issues. Can our pass rush stop this guy on a regular basis?
Richardson for 2 games.
Richardson was tough.
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence can even move. There's not really any statue quarterbacks in the conference, and there aren't really many statue quarterbacks at all anymore. And good, we should have moved on from that a long time ago.
Yeah, the only statue you would play next year probably is Goff.
He's
looking at their schedule.
Even he can move a little bit. It's quarterbacks can extend plays now. So yeah, it helps to have the best possible pass rush, the best possible trenches, but you will have a lot of work cut out for the defensive backs on the field, and they better be up to the task too, I don't know that we're still in the same league where an elite pass rush can completely make up for mediocre secondary players.
Yeah, because I think that's a very fair counterpoint to what I'm saying, because the quarterback play is so good.
When you play
Minnesota,
it's you got it. It's 1 extra second means that's 1 extra second of work for a defensive back, whether it's a safety sitting in zone or it's a cornerback that's trying to stick with a wide receiver in man. And some of these wide receivers are really good at having some sort of sixth sense or Vulcan mind meld with the quarterback. Take Tank Dell and CJ Stroud. They already seem to have just an incredible knack of knowing where the other guy is going to be. I saw it in Seattle. It was Russell Wilson with Tyler Lockett. It seems like every single quarterback in the league has one guy that they know if they extend the play long enough, this guy's going to sneak open by the very end of it. And it's a tough job being a defensive back. The pass rush certainly helps. And in some situations, in some games, they're going to overwhelm the quarterback. It's going to be a difficult time for them. But there's going to be other ones that they go up against, and it's the teams that are all the toughest to beat where they're still going to be able to extend plays and make plays, and you better hope that your guys are in the right spot.
Yeah, it is a fascinating schedule to look at for the Texans, because even if there's teams, we all agree, obviously, that the Buffalo Bills took a step back, but their quarterback is still Josh Allen. You're depending on how the schedule shakes out, we don't know when Drake May and JJ McCarthy will make their starts for the team. I think it's safe to assume that Darnold will start the season for the Vikings and Brissett will start the season for the Patriots. But you could play 3 of the first 4 rookie quarterbacks taken in the NFL draft next year. So, who knows? You're definitely getting Caleb next year, but you could get Drake May and JJ McCarthy as well. It shows you how deep the quarterback position is in the AFC, because there's not a single, besides maybe Drake May and Will Levis, breather on their schedule in terms of quarterback play in 2024. It's just it's so different than it used to be.